The Bad Batch Episode 6, Decommissioned. So this episode, first off, I got Baby Grogu just because. At this point, I'm just throwing Star Wars stuff in. This was actually a really fun episode. I think it's one of my favorites as far as what we've gotten so far. I like the fact that it was a centered episode that were basically just on this one planet, this one factory, and then it was just a cool action episode. They gave us the greatest tease for, what can I think of it? Wrecker. I don't know. I was about to say for Heavy, which is actual character, but not this one. And I thought it was cool. I was like, okay. I thought they were actually going to do it because it was like, okay, they're doing the... I can't even say... there's so many terms where I'm like, I just want to say this random word, and I'm like, Heavy's a character. Echo, which they make the joke of that. Echo is a character, but they have the echo of, good soldiers follow orders in his head. And I was like, okay, they're going through this really crazy scenario where it's like, all right, we're going to go in, we're going to do our thing. We are going to get this head for this protocol droid. Or whatever the advanced version was, I forgot. And so I was like, okay, it was fun at first. It was really simple too. It was like they literally start the episode, Omega's training with her bow and arrow, and I thought that was great. I was like, okay, they're doing it right off the top, like this is your new weapon. Let's see how you do it. She doesn't really get to use it. Like she uses it more in practice than she actually does in reality. But we do get to see her do it a little bit at the end where she's actually focused. And it was boom, it was just instant focus too. And I was like, that's interesting. We've seen her do some crack shots before as well. And it's just, that little bit of training. So I like how they handled that. I would have loved to have seen more once again. But it was cool that we got to see it. And obviously they'll build up. They have tons of episodes to do that. But in the middle of all that was a lot of chaos. We have two characters returning. We have Rafa and Trace, so we have our sisters from the little Ahsoka arc. Most people's least favorite part about that final season. I enjoyed it, but it definitely wasn't as insane as the beginning, and then especially nothing's as epic as those last 4 episodes. But they get reintroduced, and I was like, okay, that's actually really cool. I like that concept, and it seems like they're going to be important based on the tease they got, which really pissed me off, but I'll get to that at the end. And so they're going through, and it's like, okay, they're dealing with someone else. For a split second, I forgot that Rafa was that specific character, and I swear to God, I thought it was Sabine and her sister, and I thought it was Sabine's sister for a second, and then I was like, oh no, that's not her, and I was a little, I'll be honest, I was a little sad, but I'm like, for a split second, I was just like, that looks like Sabine's sister. Sadly, it was not. So, that, like, I hurt myself thinking that, and then I realized through the well, it doesn't sound like Sabine, and I'm like, oh, I remember now. It's like, if I'd seen the hair, it would have been easier. It was just the face, so it took me a second. Then I was like, oh, right. Like, sadly, it was not Sabine and her sister pre Star Wars Rebels, which would have been absolutely amazing. They also, I think, would have been a little bit too young to be in this, considering it's like right after whatchamacallit. So they technically would have been too young for that to have made sense anyway. But that was the first thing in my head. I was like, holy crap, Sabine, I love Sabine, so I was like, anything Sabine, anything Mandalorian, really. But Sabine, I was just like, holy crap. Sadly, not the case, but still really entertaining. We get to see the sisters come back. They're working for someone. They make it seem like they're working for someone who's on the side of good, and then, of course, they do, like, the tease at the end, which makes it seem bad. So we'll see. But I like the way it was handled, where they go through, and we see their different personalities and how they interact with, the Bad Batch and how they interact with Omega. And I like the way it was handled. It was like, okay, of course they're dealing with it. It's like, all right, we got to do what we got to do. You guys got to do what you got to do. But we're going to do what we got to do. And, you guys can get that away from us. And then, of course, everything goes to hell because I think it was Rafa. Yeah, so Rafa was, messing with Omega. And then, of course, Blaster goes off, blows a hole in the place. Then everybody gets busted. All the workers leave. And then a bunch of security droids come in. And it's absolute chaos. Pretty much for the rest of the episode, which I enjoyed. It was just, they're either hunkered down and they just have to deal with a crazy shootout and they're just blasting off, and then you have Omega, who's basically like the mobility of this episode when you really think about it. Like, she was moving from beginning to end once they started this mission. Like, she was supposed to be staying in place. She gets busted. Then she has to go on a chase to actually get the head of this droid, and they're just trapped. Like, it's like, all right, we got droids coming in. Wrecker goes up and does like a little bit. Of course, he hits his head again. This time, however, he passes out, and they got that. He's like straining and everything. And I was like, this is gonna be a crazy episode. I would have loved it if they did it in this episode, but they're still teasing it. They're still just like building it up, and it'll happen when it happens. In all honesty, I don't know how I want it to happen. I don't know if I want it to be like an obvious thing where he hits his head one more time and then boom, it activates, or if it's just like out of nowhere, like I kind of wanted it to be like a complete shock. Like this was like, okay, he hit his head again and then he had a headache and it was the worst he's had so far. I would love to see it where the next time they kind of go through whatever they're going to do with him, it's almost like a trigger word. I didn't even realize that was on. I would love for it to be like just a random trigger where, someone randomly says order 66 or whatever. And then it's just like, boom. Like, it's just like, they just show him and they could throw in some sound effects so people aren't just like, what the F just happened? But odds are if you're watching it and he shoots, you get what just happened. But I would love for it to be that way. I would love it if it was just, boom, it's instant and just out of nowhere. And I think I mentioned this in my last review where it was like, it would be cool if, the first 5 minutes is like, all right, here's our mission. Here's what we're doing. And then, boom, something random happens. And the rest of the episode is like, that mission means nothing. We have to deal with Wrecker, whether it's save him or kill him or, whatever in between. So I'm excited for it. There was a great tease. I really thought they were doing it, and I would have been excited for that because the whole episode was pretty dramatic. I didn't think anyone would actually die. And then once it showed that part, I was like, they could do it. Like, someone could die in this episode if he turns evil at this point, especially because that was before they, worked on the head and everything. I was like, this could go horribly wrong, and that would have been entertaining to see. It just would have been kind of sad because somebody would have got killed off. But he ends up passing out, then he wakes up and everything's fine. He does his normal thing, jumps into the fight. And so they're still having their shootout. They end up controlling the droid to wake up all the other droids to attack the security droids. And that was cool. I like the way it was handled. They had a really cool scene with Omega where she ends up losing the head to Trace, and Trace is about to take off, and she realizes, like, okay, Omega's stuck. She's on the conveyor belt that's going to drop into molten lava. So I was like, all right, I should probably save this kid. And I like the way it was handled. It was very tense, and Hunter's freaking out. He's trying to get to her as fast as he can. So I like the way all of that was handled. And, even once it was all said and done, like, he just looked at Trace and was just like, thank you. Like, despite everything they had just gone through and, the back and forth, it was just like, look, you helped save her. That's all that matters. Thank you. And so then they all have to team up, and they end up escaping. And I thought it was really cool. I was like, all right, we get to the end. They have the data from the droid, which I don't know if I would assume it was just on that, and he gave it away, so that means they won't get the money at all. But I was like, it seems weird that Tech wouldn't be able to just be like, all right, I got 2. Yeah, if Hunter had just told him, I'm like, I feel like he could have easily just been like, okay, we'll just do 2. But at the same time, it's a part of the drama of it all, where in him making the choice to be like, all right, I know that we don't ask questions, we're just getting paid to make our money so that we can kind of survive. But at the same time, I know that things are wrong right now, and he believed, Raphael was like, hey, if you guys are truly using it to fight against the Empire, then you're the ones, I know you're going to use it in a good way compared to the mystery person that we were going to end up giving it to. So he gives away all the information, and I like that. I was like, okay, that's interesting, and we'll see what happens. It made it seem like for sure they were going to come back with the ending, and everyone splits off and stuff, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, and they talk about choosing sides and things like that. And then we get to the end, and I thought they were just going to show it, because I was like, they were referencing that it was a guy for sure, and I was like, okay, it would be really interesting if it ended up being Rex, which would have made sense, because with everything that happened, it was like, you have Rex and Ahsoka, they take off from the planet that they crash landed on, and then they end up, it's like, okay, we have a contact. Rafa and Trace, for sure, are people, it just makes perfect sense that they would actually fight against, the Empire. And so I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense if they were dealing with Ahsoka. Maybe, she would say something to Rex and like, all right, we can reach out to these people and tell them what we need, and they can be, bounty hunters for us. And I thought that made sense. And then they were like, all right, patch him through. And I was like, okay, it's going to be Rex, or, because they said he. So I was just like, it'd be cool if it was Rex or, some other person. And instead, they just show like the back or like kind of like the shoulder side. And I was like, those look like robes. And I'm like, but it wouldn't make sense. Like, if it was actually a Jedi, why would they send this person after them? And then I'm like, it's not clone armor, so I don't think it was Rex, but it still could be. It could have just been he was in a different outfit, and that was the tease. But they also made it seem like it was super ominous, and that's the thing. I'm like, I can't tell if it's actually bad or if they're just effing with this. So I'm like, it really pissed me off too. I was just like, and not like it's bad writing or anything. It just made me mad because I was like, I'm tired of these teases. Like, they have the stuff with Fennec, and I'm like, who is she talking to? Who is she hired by? We don't effing know. And now it's like a fourth party has been introduced, because we have the Empire, the Kaminoans, where of course they want Omega back, as well as the Bad Batch, whoever it was that hired Fennec, which I mentioned in that episode. I was like, I highly doubt it was the Kaminoans, because otherwise they would have just shown them instead of making it a tease. And now we have a fourth party that's been introduced, and we don't know who the F that is, but they're interested in rogue clones. but they also don't seem like the Empire. And Rafa is, it's easy that she could be lying, but also considering everything they've gone through, it just, I don't know. It makes sense that they would still technically be the bad guys, and I guess Trace could kind of just go along with it. But I'm just like, I don't think so. I think they just kind of played it up to make it seem ominous, and then it's like, oh, we aren't going to show who it is, and that could just be a reveal in general. It seemed evil for sure because it was like, we found some rogue clones and figured you'd want to know, exactly where to find them. And I'm like, all that seems bad, but it could easily just be like a good guy. Like it could easily be one of the heroes. Who knows? But they definitely made it seem ominous, and they kind of made it a fourth party. So who knows? Although that could actually be the same person that hired Finnick, if you think about it. So that could still be a third party. And I'm telling you, for a second, I was like, man, if they make this evil, and I swear to God it was Darth Maul, I would have been so happy. And there was kind of like, I don't think it was him. But I was just like, like Darth Maul does, his whole gang leader thing in between, like where Clone Wars is, and then leading up to a little bit, after Solo. If you didn't see that, he was, spoiler, I guess, he was in that. And then of course that doesn't matter because Solo didn't make money, so they didn't make that sequel. But he does a lot of stuff. He leads a whole gang. I forgot the name of the actual group. It's like something Sun. I don't think it's Red Suns, but he leads a whole gang and all this. Like there's a big chunk of like Darth Maul history between the end of Clone Wars and the start of, or like, I shouldn't say the start of Rebels, but Clone Wars and Rebels, where we get to see some more of what he's done. And so I'm like, that would have been cool. Like it's a bit after, like I think I mentioned before, we don't know the exact time span, but I would say it's at least been like a couple months. So, he's been building up, doing his thing, and I was like, it would totally make sense. It would definitely work, but they made it seem evil. It probably is evil, but it could also be a twist. They're like, there's so many little plot threads in this where I'm like, I want to know the answer to this. Like, they just introduced stuff like, who hired this person? Who are they talking to? What's going to happen with Wrecker? What's going to happen with the Kaminoans? Like, are they going to get more active to try to get Omega back? Are they just like, well, eventually she'll come back to us? Like, there's a lot of questions as to like, how in the world this is going to play out. Are the Bad Batch even going to survive? Who knows? There's so many questions in this show. It has me very excited because they keep teasing stuff, and I'm like, it's driving me nuts because like I'm just getting more questions than answers. But I'm actually really excited for this because it adds to the intrigue of the series, where it's like, okay, so who are all the different parties that are actually going to be involved in this final? Well, who knows how they're going to do this? I assumed it's just one season, but I also assumed it was going to be like 12 episodes like the final season of Clone Wars. So I was very wrong. They might do multiple seasons of this. We'll see. But I'm excited. I thought it was a good action episode. Like, not too much happened story-wise, but definitely a great tease at the end that, like I said, it kind of pissed me off because I'm just like, man, I wanted them to show who that was so bad. Like, just a lot. Like, they've already done like the big tease with Finnick because it's all mysterious and stuff, and I'm just like, please just tease for like a second and then just give us the reveal so we can just be like, holy crap, just let us theorize. Like, I'm theorizing now, but I'm just like angry theorizing. Like, I don't know. There's so many possibilities. I'm just like, please just show us something. Like, just give me something. Even if that character, whoever it is, wasn't going to come back for like another 8 episodes, just let me think about that in the background. But it's just like, you just got to figure out who it is yourself. So it's driving me crazy. But it was a great way to end the episode because I'm like, they're definitely in the middle ground based on what we've seen from them, during Ahsoka's arc in Clone Wars. So they could actually be working with someone evil. They could actually be working with someone good who genuinely wants to go against the Empire. They could also be working with someone evil who also wants to go against the Empire. I think Darth Maul really fits into that role, but so would a boatload of other people as well. So I'm assuming it has to be someone we know. Otherwise, it would have just been like, boom, here's a new character. So it's someone we've seen. It's someone we definitely know. We're seeing some robes. It could be Darth Maul. Anything Darth Maul, 100% a plus in my book. So who knows what's going to happen. More Darth Maul is always perfection to me. So we'll just end up seeing what happened. But I would love to know your thoughts on this episode. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. The Wrecker thing, like, that's just been so consistent because he's either hitting his head or talking about his head. I don't know. That still might not happen for like another 10 episodes. And I'll just, every episode will be like, whoo, he hit his head again. He hit his head again. But now that they've done this, I think the next time he's probably going to turn, even if it's not for, even if it's not permanently. I think the next time something like that happens, he's going to turn at least for a temporary amount of time. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. I think that's what they're going to end up doing. Obviously, I could be wrong, but they're definitely, they're definitely doing it now. So it's like, all right, we're 6 episodes in, and I think we still have like 18 more to go or something wild like that. So I don't know. Maybe not 18 more to go, but probably like 12 more to go or a little bit less. But I'm excited. I have been pretty much every week. I think every week has been good so far. And it just seems to get better and better. They're doing a lot of great teasing. They're doing a lot of good ramping up. I like where they are right now as far as working with this woman and her kind of being like, hey, I'm looking out for you guys. You guys make money. I make money. Everyone wins. I kind of want to see this play out for another couple of episodes because it's a good, even though it's like, oh, it's just kind of the bounty of the week sort of thing, which they can do for a couple of episodes. I like it if it plays out like this, where they can easily just be like, all right, either it's characters that we've seen before and they kind of run into them and have interactions with them, or even if it's newer characters, it would be cool just to see them go through some interesting experiences. Like if they do kind of these random missions and stuff, that kind of counts as training for Omega. So I'd love to see that. Obviously we'll see what ends up happening. But like I said, we'd love to know your thoughts on this episode. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.